Southeast Asia is one of the most exciting regions to travel through, whether you're checking out the beaches in Thailand and the Philippines, going to see temples in Cambodia, exploring street food in Vietnam, or just flying between places like Singapore, Japan, and Sri Lanka, or really anywhere else in Southeast Asia. But staying connected the whole way can be a bit tricky, because every country has different SIM cards, and even if you find one that works, it usually only covers a single country. So if you're heading to multiple places, you'll either need to keep swapping SIMs or find a better solution. That's where regional eSIM plans come in. And one of the easiest ways to set that up is through the Saily app. I've used it myself on multiple trips, and it saved me a ton of time not having to figure out a new SIM card every time I crossed a border. If you haven't heard of Saily before, it's an eSIM service backed by Nord Security, which is the same team behind NordVPN. It's built specifically for travelers, and what makes it stand out is that it comes with a bunch of extra features. Things like an ad blocker, web protection, and even a tool to change your virtual location, which adds a layer of privacy when you're online. Here's how it works. You just open the Saily app, pick the Asia and Oceania plan, and choose based on how much data you'll need and for how long. The plans start at just about $5, so as you can see, it's very reasonable. Also, all their plans are prepaid with no contracts, and you earn a little Saily credit back with each time. There's no physical SIM card involved, everything's handled digitally. After buying your plan, you just install the eSIM through the app or scan a QR code. It takes maybe a minute. Then once you land, your plan activates automatically as long as data roaming is turned on. You don't have to mess with it again after that. It'll keep working seamlessly across all 19 countries in that region, including places like Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, Japan, and the Philippines. And if you're thinking about giving Saily a try, I've got an exclusive 15% off discount for you. Just use the code GVUTech at checkout when downloading the Saily app or visiting their website. Now, in terms of its performance, it's super solid. Saily connects through the top local networks in every country, so you're not stuck with just one provider the entire time, which is great for when you're in more remote areas. It's not perfect, as you're still relying on the local towers, but the connection is usually much faster and more stable than anything I've gotten from a cheap airport SIM. On average, I've seen speeds around 100 Mbps when the signal's strong, which is more than enough for things like maps, streaming, or hotspotting if you need to work. And because the same plan covers multiple countries, you're not getting kicked offline every time you cross a border. It just keeps running in the background. Now, Saily doesn't just get you connected, it actually does a pretty good job of protecting your data while you're online. There's a built-in ad blocker, which cuts out a lot of the pop-ups and trackers that normally follow you around. I noticed pages loaded faster, I wasn't getting hit with a bunch of ads just because I looked something up once. Plus, since fewer scripts are running in the background, it helps you save data on the go. There's also something called web protection, which blocks dangerous websites before they can load. That's been super useful when I've had to connect to sketchy public Wi-Fi at airports or cafes, especially when booking hotels or logging into my email. It's just one of those things you don't think about until it stops something bad from happening. And then there's virtual location routing, which kind of works like a lightweight VPN. It hides your real IP address and gives you a bit more privacy when browsing. And if you need to access content that's restricted in the country you're in, you can do that as well. I used it on multiple trips to access shows from back at home, and it worked surprisingly well. There was no setup, no buffering, it just worked. The nice part is, none of this needs extra apps or settings. Everything runs quietly in the background, so you don't have to think about it. And I just want to point out a really cool feature. The app points out when you've used about 80% of your data, which makes it easy to stay on top of things without constantly checking. And if you've got any questions or need help with anything, they have a 24/7 live chat support right in the app. I've used it a couple of times and they've been quick and helpful. Not just scripted responses, but actual support that got things sorted. Of course though, just like anything, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. So the first thing is Saily is data only, so if you're someone who still makes regular phone calls or sends SMS texts, you'll want to use messaging apps like WhatsApp, Telegram, or FaceTime instead. Most people already do, so it's usually not a big deal, but it's good to keep in mind. The other thing is that you need to make sure that your phone supports eSIMs. Most newer smartphones do, but it's worth checking before you buy it, just in case. So here's the big picture. If you're planning a multi-country trip through Southeast Asia, Saily makes it way easier to stay connected without the hassle of swapping SIM cards in every new country. It's reliable and super easy to use, and the built-in features like ad blocking, web protection, and virtual location give it a big edge over basic prepaid SIMs. Plus, with prepaid plans starting at just $5 and flexible options that go all the way up to unlimited data, it fits pretty much any kind of trip, whether you're backpacking for a week or traveling between cities for a month or more. I've personally had great experiences with Saily, and I keep going back to it. So if you're curious to try it out, don't forget to use the code GBUTech for 15% off of your first plan. And of course, if you've got any questions or suggestions, feel free to drop those down in the comment section, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, safe travels, and I'll see you in the next one.